Bing,
We are
bang,
live,
boom.
streaming on 3 devices simultaneously for the Holistic Freedom Secrets Podcast. Episode 16. Yeah. I feel like we should come up with some sort of theme song.
We will eventually.
That's not going to be it.
It's not.
Don't
It's
worry.
what's going on, guys.
It
is indeed episode 16 of the Holistic Freedom Secrets Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Coach Soul.
And I'm Coach Tensi.
We're married. We're Ufulu child. Ufulu means freedom. We're about that freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Today we're talking about how to get free from your mind with an episode entitled From Thought to Action, right? From thought to action, overcoming anxious overthinking.
Yes. So, I feel like this is especially timely. You may not be into astrology. I am. And numerology and whatnot, because we are in full moon vibes. Now is the time to see the fruits of the seeds that we've been planting within our minds and within our efforts. And it's also been a time of a lot of feeling in limbo for people. Feelings of unworthiness or self-doubt or overthinking. I've been seeing a lot in friends and in family, in client discussions. And so the goal for today is to address the importance of identifying overthinking so that we can really just reclaim dominion over our lives and autonomy in our lives, right? This is super huge, especially for me, because I feel like between both of us, I'm the one that struggles with this, honestly. And it's something to where for years I would find myself being the dabbler or the collector of information, where I would have these goals and I would map out the goals, and then immediately it would be like a cascading effect of thoughts like, oh, I should be doing this. Oh, no, wait, I can add this in. Oh, wait, I should do this. I got to look this up first. And it would start out so practical and innocent, these thoughts. And then it would turn into like this scattered energy to where it's just like moving in circles, going in circles, and not getting to the completing a task or getting to the destination. And after a while, I figured out I need to address what is going on here with this overthinking so I can move through it and move past it. And it really took something that Soul, my husband, introduced me to, which was being present, more deeply noticing and catching the thoughts. There's an amazing teacher. He doesn't call himself a teacher, but Muji. Yeah, he's a low-key spiritual master, and and his book, his work has really helped me just remember the true essence of who I am, so that when the thoughts come, I can allow them to pass through and take what's needed in the moment and go about the rest of the task. Sometimes I falter. However, most of the time it's been better than it ever has been before. So that's what
So yeah, being present is the name of the game when it comes to overcoming overthinking or overcoming, let's say, low-level anxiety or anxiety that's not in the moment, and anxiety attack where it's biochemical and it's something that the reaction has to just play out and time will provide the out, but where it is manageable enough that you can provide yourself an out. Definitely allowing the future to be the future, allowing the past to be the past, knowing that neither of them are here, and being here is the name of the game when it comes to overcoming overthinking. But before we get too deep into strategies, what is overthinking? What is the term pointing to what causes it. I have some thoughts on that.
Mm.
Overthinking, as we are describing it, and we're going to define it today, is procrastination by way of indecision. Okay,
Mm.
overthinking, the way we're going to talk about it today at least, is procrastination. So inaction for something that you know you want or have to do
Mm.
by way of indecision. You can't make a decision on how you want to do it, what you want to start with, how you want to plan it. Some sort of decision or set of decisions, maybe
Mm.
it's three or four of them, are seemingly, excuse me, seemingly blocking you from taking action.
Mm.
And there's a spiraling effect or a snowball effect in how the mind approaches thinking it through. In case you haven't noticed, it doesn't think through anything. It just thinks around things. Hence the word spiral or the word snowball.
Yes.
So she's like, preach.
Yeah.
So what's the impact of overthinking? Well, the impact is that, first of all, you cause yourself stress because the task is not completed. um, you set yourself up for failure because the task is not done well when it is completed, and you set yourself up for mistakes because the task is not thought through as just described, right? It's just thought around, and then eventually you just have to rush and get it done.
Mm.
And so that will lead to a lot more mistakes versus if you implement some of the strategies we're going to talk about today. You want to add anything to the understanding of overthinking?
Yeah. So, one of the things, some common causes of overthinking that we haven't quite touched on yet. One big one is the fear of failure or even perfectionism can be the cause. So that's especially, well, both of them have definitely been some roots for me, stemming all the way back to childhood. Times when feeling like um, a sense of unworthiness also can be at the root, right? So forgetting that there's no such thing as perfection as it's defined by the mind,
Right.
right? There is a divine perfection of all things that brings harmony, but that's not an image in the mind. It's not this object to go after. It's not this perfect fantasy picture. And so that could be a cause. And then it can also impact our mental health and our physical health down the line. Everything starts with the mind, everything starts with spirit, the mind.
Yeah.
And we can find ourselves not only not being productive, but also different ailments starting to manifest in the body as well.
So one of the first, aptly named uh, strategies that we have to mention is mindfulness. Being mindful is not mindful, right? It's emptying the mind because your attention has caught wind that you're overthinking. And if we're honest with ourselves, our attention will catch that we're overthinking within the first about 10 seconds or so of doing that. But it's such a small offense that we kind of ignore it. It's like, okay, well, it's fine. I'll
You
just,
just slip
that's,
by,
yeah,
no boundary.
we
No,
don't
you can
really
come in.
have an alert system that goes, this should not continue. So
Mm.
being mindful is, in this context, is about developing an alert system that will say, within the first 10, 15 seconds of anxious overthought, hey, this cannot continue because it will lead to outcomes I don't like in the very near future.
Mm.
Right? Again, it will stress me out when the task isn't complete, or it will stress me out because I'll be making mistakes trying to complete the task after so much time overthinking and or poor planning, setting myself up for failure.
Yeah.
When the task is implemented and I try to do something with it, it may fail. So uh, overthinking, as defined earlier, indecision, and procrastination, um, can be overcome in one way by just being mindful and how you build mindfulness is, of course, silent sitting practices or silent practices of some kind. So I like to call silent practices that don't involve like the imagination, meaning that don't involve contemplation or imagining or reflection, meditation, and ones that and silent practices that involve contemplation or reflection or imagination. I just call them silent practices. But these silent practices, they all have their different benefits. Contemplation has its set of benefits, meditation has its set of benefits, reflection has its set of benefits. All of them can incorporate gratitude on some level.
Mm-hmm.
And doing these silent practices, especially when you include some element of gratitude and thankfulness,
Mm-hmm.
helps regulate the mind's stress from the day. And so you're not, when you practice these on a daily basis, you're not carrying stress from yesterday into the next morning and into the afternoon and into the evening and then into the next day from 2 days ago. And the cycle continuing that way, you're actually giving your mind a restorative mode of, a restorative mode of operation so it can reset.
Yeah. Something I would add into that is that the silent sitting is, meditation is just becoming familiar with the word itself has that root meaning to become familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
And the essence of connecting that back to how are we going to overcome overthinking is we need to become familiar with this pattern of overthinking. What are the root thoughts that keep surfacing? Because it always tends to be several themes that keep resurfacing, no matter if the thought itself is different, and oftentimes the mind be repeating itself. Okay. So noticing those patterns, oh man, every time this thought comes and I touch it and cling to it, that's when the thought avalanche starts happening. And it's like, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah, when
snowball
I
effect.
participate in the anxiety, that's when it actually takes form and takes hold, when I start to identify with it. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, if I can piggyback on what you just said before you move forward, Baba Muji would probably add to that familiarity without identity, right? Becoming familiar, but from a detached point of view, with the patterns of mind, or becoming familiar with the thing that you're thinking about. But by detaching yourself, you won't get rolled up in that thought snowball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you're not identified with the process. Um,
So
and then etymologically, right? Etymologically. Jika, jika, jika.
we don't really say that word often.
Etymologically?
Etymologically.
Thank you. Meditation starts with medi, which means center or balance point. So meditation is actually is also the word itself, at least, coming to centering yourself. So centering yourself, and then the meaning stems back to becoming familiar with.
Mm-hmm. And coming back to the essence, the universal law, remembering that all is mind. So if you're thinking that if you don't address this, there won't be order in your life. I mean, there will be order in your life if you think if you allow for overthinking to continue, that everything will all of a sudden snap back into place. That is not so, because it all begins in the mind, and we need to order our own house first, right?
Mm-hmm.
So another strategy that we can use in order to really become clear, once you've sat silently, and it doesn't literally have to be you sitting in a lotus pose on the ground, but being present with yourself, is journaling. And tell them a little bit about journaling.
Journaling is great for a great many reasons, and there are a bunch of different ways to do it. Of course, in today's day and age, you don't even need a pen and paper, because you can journal on your phone or your tablet or your laptop. If that's your favorite device, by all means, use it. But also, pen and paper has a bit of, a touch of magic to it. And with journaling, what you're doing is allowing your thoughts to be transferred, right, to transition from the mental space where they kind of take form as these flowing and circulating and spiraling entities that kind of have a life of their own onto paper where they become stuck and observable and reflect onable, I like to call it. So journaling is a great way to transfer anxious thoughts onto paper. And what will happen if you're journaling about something that you're overthinking about, causing indecision and thereby causing procrastination, is you'll start to organize how you're going to approach the task. And it'll happen very naturally. You can, of course, decide to journal about how you're going to plan the task or journal about the plan of how you're going to do the task. But you also can just journal about the task that you have or the distraction that you have now and what it's keeping you from, and it'll automatically have an effect where you go ahead and while you're there, sort of like while you're in the room of the journal page, you go ahead and write out the steps that you're going to take. Once you see that the steps are written out, they're usually not that big or complicated of a step, and you can take things one thing at a time, which also ties into another strategy we'll get to in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, journaling, great. I've been using journaling for years now. So as Coach Tensi, it's something that we mention to all of our personal clients,
Absolutely.
and you really improve your mental organization and even emotional organization when you engage in journaling on a regular basis.
Yeah. This is also great for when you're in a workplace setting and your mind's just running and running as well. So for workplace wellness and mental health, it's
You pull
vital.
out your tiny journal and just
This small. I'm kidding. But yes, so another thing to mention before we get to the third big strategy is that oftentimes, especially for women, when there is anxiety, that means that progesterone is too low, love. That means it's too low. So, um, some things to really help with that, reflect on some of our fuel episodes that we do on Wednesdays. And we've talked about progesterone, I think, this past Wednesday's episode. I don't remember the number, but check that out.
13.
Episode 13, thank you. And just get to know your hormones a little bit more because it's all connected in what we're eating and the time that we are allowing for ourselves to self-heal. So we might dive into that a little bit more later in the week. But yeah, that's something to note that may be a cause of the anxiety. And so from here, let's shift gears into another strategy that we can use to reduce overthinking, which is setting boundaries.
Setting boundaries. Yeah, there's definitely an impact on procrastination and overthinking when you set boundaries. And what it means in this context, at least the way we're going to talk about it today, is setting boundaries for yourself, right? Setting boundaries for your mind. And understood, did something go wrong on Facebook?
Yeah, it looks like the live video stopped on Facebook. So I'm
Okay, yeah.
just going to recalibrate it so that can.
So we're going to go back live really fast on the Facebooks. Oh, there we go. Boom. Nice.
How many minutes? Oh man, that was 9 minutes in. That was a while ago. It started to go out. So sorry, Facebook. We're gonna have to probably just upload a video from YouTube in order to bridge the gap. But we'll get the information to Facebook too. Okay. So
okay.
We're getting little technical
video
things
is starting.
going.
Yeah.
Facebook fam.
Probably the internet.
Yeah, I did say internet connection.
Abrupt. Okay. Well,
We're back.
We're still
Facebook.
connected on YouTube, still connected on Instagram, and we're back to being connected on Facebook. Facebook, we will figure out how to upload the whole video from YouTube
Mhm.
to
To hear,
To
so
hear,
that y'all
so.
can check it out. But in the meantime, you can get the last half of the episode.
Yeah. So we were talking about setting boundaries, and you can set boundaries for yourself, meaning you can disallow yourself from going into so much overthinking if you catch it fast enough. And of course, I'm talking about before you're in the stage of this is an anxiety attack or this is some sort of biochemical reaction that just needs time and maybe some external support to get through. But you're noticing that that may happen, and so you set some boundaries. And setting boundaries is not about, as we mentioned earlier, being perfect or being infallible or something like that. It's about noticing and being honest, right?
That
So
part.
when we're honest with ourselves, then we're more readily able to slow down enough to stop overthinking, to go either take a break, go either talk, with our manager or talk to somebody related to what task we're supposed to be doing, or just being honest opens the door to fixing the problem in a myriad of different ways. So setting boundaries is about being honest, and one of the internal strategies that's related to setting boundaries for yourself, we're going to call the 10-second rule. And the 10-second rule basically is where you count down from 10 to 1. And when you get to 1, you make a decision, right? You make some sort of decision, whether that's, again, a decision to seek external help, talk to the boss, talk to the husband or wife.
Talk to your like your friend that you know in the community that is
Confidant.
strategic minded.
Switch tasks for a minute, grab a coffee, grab a Capomo, grab a sandwich, whatever. Making a decision after 10 seconds. So you notice something is going on, you choose to be honest with yourself about what you're noticing and not ignore it. And then you count down from 10 to 1. By the time you get to 1, you make a decision. It's a good boundary setting, actual action that you can take, actionable boundary setting technique and strategy that you can implement.
Yeah. So that's a 10-second rule. And you can pair that with other things. Like there's the Pomodoro method in terms of when you're scheduling out tasks. If this is a task that you know would not take you 3 hours, and it took you 3 hours to kind of ruminate through, just to try and get to a point, and then you notice that the amount of progress you made is not what you would like, speaking from experience, we can chunk it down to where in a given hour, give yourself like 50 minutes of solid work, and then check in with yourself in that last 10 minutes in the hour. And that's when you can, if you hadn't before, that 10-second rule can come into effect to shift gears again. And then, of course, how do we build trust and confidence in ourselves? Because that's going to be necessary in really overcoming overthinking, to having the clear mind, having the knowing and discernment that's needed in our journey to holistic freedom.
Yeah. Well, and since procrastination via indecision is often tied directly to one's self-talk, editing your self-talk over time, using practices that directly correspond with how you speak over yourself, how you speak about your abilities to yourself internally in the mind, what you understand about yourself from a positive or negative, leaning point of view. This self-talk is what should be targeted. And there's 3 ways to target it, one of them being positive affirmations, right? Waking up and, as a practice, while you're brushing your teeth or while you're washing your face and doing your skincare routine that involves your Ufulu Child
whole
body butter.
This is ours.
um, you're speaking over yourself internally or externally as a whisper or out loud with enthusiasm, um, positive frameworks for who you are and what you're going to do today,
Mm.
right? And you can do that in a bunch of different ways. Just like we said before, I used to teach. I still do teach if there's an opportunity for it, a workshop called Hip Hop Affirmations, positive hip hop affirmations, where we frame affirmations about ourselves in a little rhyme, and it's very cool. I make it super easy. It doesn't have to be all complicated. You won't come out rapping like Talib Kweli, Eminem, and
Or
Kendrick Lamar,
Kendrick
but
Lamar. Yeah.
you will definitely have some affirmations to say over yourself in the morning or the afternoon, or after a workout, whenever the time best suits you, to speak these things over yourself. You'll have some space, and it'll be nice and short, but it'll be powerful.
Hmm. Yeah. So that is one way for sure. And these are powerful strategies. They sound super simple, like, oh, well, duh, I already know this. We're not telling you something that you don't already know. We're just reminding you of the essential truths so that you can take the next natural step, right? So the next thing that we can come to is really reflecting on when did you find success, and remembering those moments, but also taking it a step deeper. And from acknowledging and reflecting on that, you can consider, okay, let me anchor this back in to where I wish to be, right? So what is in your thrive zone is something to consider. And the thrive zone is where three worlds meet, and those three worlds are everything that you would most love to experience, so the loves, meets up with what you need to experience, so what you need. And then the third world is what your spirit is calling you to or what you're ready for. So that sweet spot where those three connect, love, need, and readiness, that's where to come from when reflecting on, okay, how am I going to solve this problem? How am I going to um, meet the meet and come to the outcome that's needed? Well, how am I going to work through my process? Come from your thrive zone first. Contemplate what is in your thrive zone, is one way as well.
And then seeking support. What I've been saying throughout the episode, it's a very good way to mitigate overthinking and inaction, is to seek support. Go ask somebody for help. Call somebody, call a friend. Like, you want to be a millionaire,
Phone a friend.
lifeline, phone a friend, and you'll get the task done. That is all the time that we have for today's episode. For us, please like, follow, subscribe, comment, notify yourself, and share out this episode to everybody that you can, as well as our podcast as a whole to everybody that you can. There is a full playlist on YouTube for this podcast, and the episodes are in order from first to last,
Yes.
or first to most recent, I should say. And tomorrow is Cleanse Day.
Yeah.
Look
So
forward to that.
in the comments, because we're building community here right now, let us know what suggestion you plan to implement for yourself, or if you already do some of these things, let us know what's working for you right now to combat that overthinking, so we can help each other out. And this is not just us talking at you, this is us
Right.
connecting with you. We want to have these conversations and keep those conversations going so more people can benefit as well. So have a great day and rest of your day, evening, or whenever you're watching this. And we'll see you tomorrow for Cleanse Day.
Yeah, have a good one.
Take good care.